giant perjury trap. Joining me now, Paul Callan, CNN legal analyst, former NYC homicide prosecutor, and James Galliano, CNN law enforcement analyst and retired FBI supervisory special agent. So, gentlemen, to you first, Counselor. It's not just Ari Fleischer, who, by the way, worked for President Bush, Republican. It's Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who said this over the weekend.
I don't think what was said amounts to obstruction of justice. Now, what the president did was inappropriate, but here's what's so frustrating for Republicans like me. You may be the first president in history to go down because you can't stop inappropriately talking about an investigation that if you just were quiet would clear you.
Over here, guys.
Did you just keep saying be quiet? And the president has not made any indication of that. He said on Friday, of course, 100% willing to testify, tell my story, no problem.
Lindsey Graham's a great guy to be listening to because he was a lawyer in private practice, very successful one before he ran for the Senate. And the president is making a big mistake in ignoring that advice. And let me just give you one example. I noticed in going over the president's statements, he had made one statement about having been told that what he said to Comey was perfectly proper, even though he denied saying the exact words. Now, if he was told that by his attorney, you know what? The president has waived his attorney-client privilege with Kasowitz by revealing a piece of the conversation. Once you break it, now you can be asked about it. That's an example of how one small statement by the president could totally undermine his case in the long run. And it's foolish for him to be tweeting and talking publicly.
So, James, one of the president's attorneys said that the way he puts it is that he says Comey admitted to making, quote, unauthorized disclosures to the press of privileged communications with the president, okay? So many other legal scholars point to the First Amendment, and they just say, no, he can do this, and he can do it again and again and again. How do you see it?
Well, Poppy, I've been unequivocal and absolutely full-throated in my defense and support of Director Comey. I believe he's an honorable man. I think he made a particular calculus that got us here, that you can argue whether or not it was the right one or not, but I think he did what he thought was right. I was struck and troubled last Thursday when I watched the 2 or 3 hours that he testified in front of the Senate Intel Committee, and the part that bothered me the most was the admission about the leak and the way that it happened. It wasn't even a situation where the director went to a New York Times reporter. He actually gave it to a surrogate, a memo. Now, as you look at this chronologically and you follow along the New York Times and Washington Post reporting, there were 3 such incidents. One back in March where the FBI director was apparently enraged that that President Trump had said that there might have been wiretapping and that he might have been involved in it. I hate to say it, but I think those 3 stories probably originated from the FBI director, and I was hurt that it was coming from the FBI.
That is your assumption. You have no evidence of that. I just want to be very clear. I hear you, but that's speculation
and conjecture on my part.
Okay. I want to get you both on something that was pretty startling over the weekend. One of the president's attorneys, when asked if the president would order the deputy AG, Rod Rosenstein, who's heading up before Mueller, the Russia investigation, if he would at any point intervene or fire Mueller, here's the answer. Listen to this.
Will the president promise not to interfere, not attempt at any time to order the deputy attorney general to fire Robert Mueller?
Look, the president of the United States, as we all know, is a unitary executive. But the president is going to seek the advice of his counsel, and inside the government as well as outside. And I'm not going to speculate on what he will or will not do. I can't imagine that issue is going to arise. But that, again, is an issue that the president, with his advisors, would discuss if there was a basis.
Paul, how do you read that? Is that startling to you that he would not rule out definitively that the president would not basically, through Rosenstein, order that Mueller be fired at some point?
Yeah, it's absolutely startling. Now, the president obviously has the power to have him fired. But to say this publicly, it creates a chilling effect, I think, on the entire staff of the Justice Department. Where everybody is sitting in justice now saying, if we cross Trump, we're going to get fired. We better be really careful about this investigation. It's a really terrible way and a terrible example to set about an objective investigation, which is what the president should want.
Just to be clear, he made no indication. I watched that full interview that perhaps he pretty much put it off the table. but not completely.
No, but
he basically danced around it with legalese.
Well, but he did more than that. I think he said you can't rule it out. The president might do it, and I think he should have been more definitive.
James, did it bother you to hear that?
It's reminiscent of looking back during the Nixon era and saying, could this possibly be like the Saturday Night Massacre? Could that possibly happen? The only thing that troubles me with the special prosecutor piece, I think the president would lose in the court of public opinion, even if he's vindicated and there's nothing there. There's no there.
By firing the guy running it.
Absolutely. The only thing that has troubled me from the start, I respect both men. I worked for them. I worked for 4 FBI directors. They were my last 2. Why would you appoint a special prosecutor that has a personal relationship with one of the central figures in the investigation?
What is your criticism?
My criticism is the special prosecutor, Robert Mueller, has a personal relationship with former Director Comey. Why would you appoint a special prosecutor to conduct an investigation where a central witness and figure has a personal relationship?
Is that problematic?
I've always thought that it was an odd choice because of the relationship. Now, and when we talk about a personal relationship, the Ashcroft incident, remember...
When Comey rushed to the bedside of John Ashcroft to say, hey, don't reauthorize this NSA
That's
legislation.
correct. Well, at that time, Mueller was his boss, and they kind of bonded on this one thing where they stood up to the President of the United States and said, we're not going to go along with violating the rights of American citizens. It's one of those major events in your life that would bond you to another person. And I think to put him in charge of the investigation now of Comey, that maybe could be problematic.
Let's remember, this is someone who has been complimented by Republicans, by Democrats alike, served under a Republican president, a Democratic president. Thank you very much, guys. We are way over time, I'm hearing. Paul Callan, James Galliano, appreciate it. Coming up, Bill Cosby arriving today for the second week of his sexual offense trial. The big question now, will he actually take the stand in his own defense? That's next.